Here we are, the 7th of July, the first Sunday in a month that we've had sunshine. We've had rain just bucketing, but after I've cut everything out, it still looks nice again. So let's start at the bottom. Here we have the ladies' mantle billowing out onto the steps, and the clematis here is just gorgeous, with a penny lane in there. Here we have the rambler, Felicite Perpetuée, just coming out. There are lots of buds at the top, and there are a few white coming out. A few years ago it went right up to the top, but then we had a severe winter and it froze back. Then here we have this delicate rose here, that's Felicite Perpetuée. This little red rose has a wonderful scent, and soon the dark blue clematis will be out here. And here the campanulas, masses of them, but they're just about over. But they're full of bees, and I have to be so careful not to stand on any of them. I love all this fullness here. But the storm, unfortunately, swept in here and sort of flattened the campanulas. The white lilies are just beginning to come out. Now, I love their scent, particularly in the evening. And then here into Ursa's sculpture here, we have sort of a half a climbing rose, and that little clematis, that's Prince Charles. I love the fullness here. The hosta are just beginning to flower, and it's like a mauve wall along here, and behind the light roses and the white lily here too. And this light pink rose is terribly thorny, and it's called Mrs. Cat. Here we have a Japanese clematis, and soon to flower into the tree is a white one, Huldine. In fact, all of this bed here is sort of held in white. We got the white outlines of the hosta and Yvonne Rabier, and a white lily that's going to come out soon. And this thing, this Zimtifuga, will also flower white, but much later in the year. It's a nice spot here to look down onto the bed that we walked past coming up the steps, with the clematis in the middle and the astilbes. This is a real summer bed with the false chamomile there and the delphinium, what the slugs left of it, and few roses out. This was full of roses a couple of weeks ago before the big rain came. But it's just, I love the fullness of it. There are hardly any gaps for weeds. It's really, it's sort of a little bit past the high point, but it's still incredible. In fact, after the rain yesterday, I cut out, I deadheaded the roses, and I counted 1,500 brown buds that I've cut out. And look, it's still this full. This is a wonderful Iranian rose, Rose de Resht. It's got that particular sort of oily rose scent. And here is the clematis Prince Charles again. And the advantage of that one is, in fact, it will flower again later on in sort of September, October, which is unusual for a clematis. And I like this. I like this little picture, the whites and the roses and all this sort of intermingling. And this looks an interesting group too. There's Lychnis here, blending in with the roses. This is Cymbeline. Gorgeous. Look how delicate the pinks are. And yeah, a bit of a scent, but it really needs tying up. The storm this was very high, and the storm really beat everything down. There's actually an interesting group of people living here. So we have Prince Charles, Augusta Louise the Rose, Cymbeline, Leonardo da Vinci, Betty Pryor, she sounds very pedestrian compared to the rest, General Wierzyński, I'm sure not pronouncing it correctly, that's the dark clematis, And this is Cardinal Hume. Up here we have the Alchemist. That's my favorite color, that rose. The Alchemist only flowers once, and these are just a few left over. This one is Eden, so not named after a person, and of course iceberg. So this tall rose here is Caramella, and behind this wall of clematis, that's Etoile Violet, one of my absolute favorites. And Cardinal Hume again. This is an interesting combination with the President. I forget what the white one is called. This is Super Dorothy, and then the daylilies with it. This here is Madame Plantier, but unfortunately I have not had time to cut it out. But in fact you can see what the rest looked like before I cut out all the brown roses ruined by the rain. Madame Plantier has petals of sort of shaven soap. They're very, very delicate. And then when this is over, comes the white clematis, Huldine, that will then cover this here. Where there were azaleas and rhododendrons a few weeks ago, are now roses. Not maybe ideal for the soil, but they're doing just nice. I love this open one here, Golden Wing. It is so delicate, and the yellow stamen here. The bud, don't like. This wall here is really at its best at the moment. The white roses, the campanula are still in there, the alchemilla and the delicate pink astilbes. It just sort of voluptuously flows down. And here we have a completely different color combination. We have the dark astilbes following the line of the bed, and then reflected in there is these Ernst Markham, I think is that clematis, and the pink one to go with it, and daylilies. But I love this bed. And here there is a lily. It's a Turkish lily, and it's the first time that lily is as tall as this. For many years, about 5 years or so, I planted it, and it was always just tiny, and this is the first year it sort of towers above the rest. Here we have a very delicate little clematis. It's also in the Viticella group, and I planted the honeysuckle to match the rose, the same sort of orange. But I will have to get out the ladder, as you can see, to deadhead it. This bed here is really a picture now, with all the astilbes starting to bloom, the light pink before the dark pink, and the yellow, the hosta. The yellow edge of the hosta is reflected in the yellow alchemilla, so it's just a sort of a yellow, green, pink color combination, but the fullness is just great. This is where we have breakfast when the sun shines. We have the morning sun here, and we have a little area, so we feel very comfortable here, and the white, and it's all sort of held in white and light pink and a little bit of yellow. And it's pretty enough that it's difficult to actually concentrate on the paper. This is the bed just above our breakfast place. The big rose there, that is Smarty. Again, the astilbes, because the soil is very moist here. This little rose here is Summerwind. This is our bed at the back of the house. And to hide the hedge, the horrible hedge, I've planted this white rose. It's actually ground cover, but I've pulled it up into the frame. And then there's soon going to be, all of this is going to be white hydrangeas out, white that turn yellow. These very tall things are Cimcifuga. In fact, in homeopathic medicine, it's used as for female troubles, whatever they are. And a little yellow rose, and I like the combination with the blue campanulas and the pink clematis coming out of the shade. This tall rose here is Westerland, and we're looking at this bed above the wall from the top down. And look at the fullness of it, the lavender, the blue campanulas, and the white rose, and they have a little yellow center, and so there's a yellow rose with it that takes up the yellow of the center of the rose.